Okay.
I mean, Trump wants God on American side, and against the mullahs, and what are you getting out of that? You get a Christian versus Muslims suddenly involving the Pope,
Yeah.
and you can't think it can get any crazier than this.
Yeah.
Um, and all he has done with this thing is to fortify the Iranians. The Iranians have come together like never before. They're not going to riot now. They're against Trump, and the war. So everything they wanted is down the toilet.
Mm, mm, mm.
Well, we do have to be thankful to Trump for many things. He is unifying Iran. He is unifying Europe.
Yeah.
He had many contributions outside of the world.
Yeah. And he's forcing people to think about what the democracy is.
Yeah.
All those unintended outcomes.
Yeah.
That's,
He managed to get Orban out of Hungary.
yeah.
That's true.
Great politician.
Anyway, I hope the war ends with. I hope the meeting, the peace
Yeah.
for peace today, tomorrow at least, and resolve the issue. Otherwise, it will be a disaster.
What will happen? Americans have no patience. If it's not ready in 1 week, it doesn't exist. Iranians, they're there. What are they going to do? So they're just going to outlast Trump. That's it. Americans will not. After 2 weeks, they're tired of it. They want to go on to the next thing.
Well, they say
I
he's turning to
hope
Cuba again.
there's a time limit for having the war without the support of the parliament, right? So it's the Trump is facing the deadline.
Well, he doesn't seem to care about those. So.
I think his real concern is the elections,
Right.
the midterm elections.
And they're going to lose big because even the MAGA people are beginning to have to,
Yeah.
this Christ thing. You saw the picture when he says he's a doctor, but you look at the picture, you know what he's trying to be. And that has offended a lot of the Christian right, actually. So he's going to be voted out, no matter how many tricks he's going to come up with. It's going to be massive, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting. He's fighting against what was that?
The base.
He's fighting the both for Muslims and other Christians.
Well, today I saw a question on Quora asking, why are Catholics not Christians?
A lot of people in America think that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. A lot of people.
Well,
And why does Melania Trump suddenly come out and talk about Epstein file? Yeah.
Oh, but that's a story I followed because it's about a Brazilian model.
Say more.
The Brazilian model who was arrested by ICE and deported, and she used to be a friend of Melania. She was part of the Jeffrey Epstein models. She was with Melania 20 years ago when Melania was meeting Trump for the first time. This Brazilian model was meeting her husband also. So they had these Epstein organized these parties with models and billionaires, and once in a while they had a match. Yeah, and this Brazilian was was in those parties as well, and she married an American, but they got a divorce 15 years later or something, and now they are fighting over the custody of their son, the little boy. The thing is, the guy is a friend of Pam Bondi, the ex Department of Justice head. So he asked Bondi to actually deport the Brazilian because apparently she was illegally in the country for 20 years, but still, yeah. Anyway, so she was arrested, held for like a month or so, and then deported. And then she was furious and she texted Melania on the morning of when Melania came out to the press. She sent a text to Melania saying, if you don't help me out, I know you know that I know a lot of stuff, and I'm going to come out and tell everybody everything. Just a short text, and I saw it on the internet in Brazil. And on the same day, suddenly Melania comes out and starts talking that, yeah, these emails mean nothing. The photos are fake. Or she, I guess she was told by her lawyers that she should take the initiative and deny everything, even before she was going to be accused. But it was so weird.
Yeah,
And now
it was.
this woman is being interviewed in Brazil, and yeah, it's a scandal that is coming out in the next few days. You will hear a lot of
Oh,
gossip about this.
Mm.
What's her name?
Amanda Ungaro.
Okay, thank you.
If you look it up, you'll see a lot of stuff.
The soap opera, Americans are addicted to soap operas, and it's really just what it's become. The whole thing is a huge, biggest soap opera ever, with the whole globe involved. It's unbelievable. And and we are snickering and here and laughing because it's so absurd. But there are real bombs falling around, you know, and
Yeah,
yeah.
people are dying because of these things. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
It's impacting every person in the world.
Yeah.
Price of oil, price of gas, impacting every person in the world. I mean, the cost of what he's doing is immense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for getting attention, obviously, being a crook and a liar and, you know, everything else.
Mm.
I hope he's going to end up in prison and the $20 billion or whatever he's made on his job is going to be given back to the American taxpayers.
Yeah.
Mm.
That would be justice.
He spent a huge amount of money in this war, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shamelessly.
Well, let me go through some issues we have in Korea. Actually, today the President Lee Jae-myung is visiting India, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Have you met him yet?
Yeah, just meeting him for dinner.
Yeah, if you meet him, say you are the friend of KR Leon, and he will ask who is KR Leon.
Who made you president if you don't know who KR is?
So, okay, it's interesting that he's seeking a partnership with India and South Korea for the many way. Actually, many Korean companies investing into India, but many companies are still hesitating to getting into Indian market because it's not easy. There's still a lot of regulations. So I hope it's make easy for other Korean companies getting into Indian market or work together in Indian market. So that's one thing. We have currently we have
Yeah, Korean companies in India, there's some very successful Korean companies, which Hyundai, Kia,
yeah,
Samsung, LG. They're like amongst the leaders in their space in the country. So, there's some seriously good examples,
we have many good examples. Starting with the LG. LG was very good. Had a very good successfully positioned there. Then the Hyundai and the Kia, and also Samsung. Samsung is very serious investing into India, and we may need more talent from India, especially to strengthen the AI industry.
The biggest factory I've ever visited is LG's factory in Noida 20 years ago. It's colossal. Shocked. I'd never seen anything like that. So, and that's 20 years ago, and they've expanded significantly since then. So, you had some very, very good success stories of Korean companies in India. And one of them, I forget which one, is, they've also taken the step of starting to get Indians in senior management, which wasn't the case earlier. So that's the other interesting thing that's happening.
The first,
But obviously, I think it's related to the earlier subject we were talking of. Now that everybody understands how much they can trust the US, everybody's looking for other folks they can sort of
Yeah.
talk to and work with.
yeah, okay. Well, the first success was LG. The success factor was the localization of the management over there. And that leader he's my senior to my high school and the university. So I know him. He wrote three books about his experience in India. And the good thing is that he completely localized the management over there. Even though there are many Koreans supervising them, but still give a lot of flexibility and empowerment to Indian managers. So I think that was the key for the success of the LG in the first stage. At that time, the Hyundai was struggling because they didn't know even though they didn't know what to do with the cultural differences. For example, you have some place to worship for Hindus, but the in the beginning of the Hyundai Motors, they didn't recognize the importance of that. Anyway, there's so many stories I heard, and so that's a very interesting. I'm also part of the Korea and Indian the study group, and because the head of the institute is my friend too, and also another friend is my the university colleague was. He was the ambassador to India, Korean ambassador to India, and he did many many things to strengthen the tie between the two countries. So it was more than, I think it's more than almost 15 years, I guess. Uh, so I'm still involved in some of the Indian community in Korea. Okay.
Sweden is, I think, Korea is the third or fourth business business partner of Sweden. Enormous importance. And yesterday they bought an icebreaker from it, so you should rejoice.
Icebreaker.
Yeah, from Korea.
Uh,
You
um,
mean like a joke to tell at the beginning of a workshop, or do
Yes,
you mean a shop?
exactly. A ship,
A ship, a ship.
a
Okay.
very strong ship. Funny. Thank you for the question, the clarification.
Very good.
yeah. We had a special meeting here of about 1,000 experts gathering here. It's about the UN Climate Week we have, and the big conference is held in the place called Yosu. It's the southern end of the Korean Peninsula. But we have some serious issues with. Still, we had a big impact with the Iranian war, and the oil prices are still going up. So that's an issue. At the same time, the North Korea is continue to provoking with the firing the missiles, testing missiles. That's a continuing issue. But at the same time, we are trying to have a more tie with the EU, not only the India, but also with the EU. So, in a way, maybe we are still had a lot of influence from US, but we are trying to have a separate the strengthening tie with the EU, India, and other countries. We have we had quite a shock in the stock market with the Iranian war, but recently it recovered almost back to the before the war. So I lost some money, but now I'm getting back.
Good.
Yeah, I sent you an article from the New York Times about the profits that companies are making now. It's unbelievable, and everybody thinks it's coming from the tech sector, but it's coming from the conventional industry. Profits unbelievable, and they think perhaps that the tech sector has been bleeding into the other sector and giving it some advantages, and that's what evens it out somehow. But it's
Especially with
amazing. The question is how sustainable is it? Can it continue? Because the stock market, will go up. If the Iranian war, it will stop. The stock market will just shoot up. Some people think 26%, the U.S. stock market.
yeah, I think those companies' stock price will rise rapidly. I guess mainly for the I think the something we are expecting is that after the war, the shipbuildings that industry is going to grow very fast, and it's not only the semiconductors. Of course, the semiconductor companies are gaining a lot of profit. So it's a record hitting the profit this year, even it's only the first quarter, even during the war. So that's the good news. Okay, that's from about Korea.
Well, you talk about that climate meeting, yeah, in Korea. One of the thing I heard today coming out from that meeting is the threat of El Nino. which bring hotter weather to Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
This is going to be a new challenge, additional challenge to the already tough energy market situation. Because as it becomes drier, hotter, more air conditioning and water, hydroelectric powered, generation and all that will be affected due to lack of water, volume, and all that stuff. So the dependency on fossil fuel would be higher. But then, where are we going to get that fossil fuel? So that's the question coming out from the meeting today. Yeah.
Mm.
So not a very bright prediction.
Uh-huh.
But you're right. I also read another article about Korea. Your semiconductor industry is doing so well. Your government has additional budget to cushion the blow of the energy crisis to Korean. So you're very lucky in Korea. You get a lot of money and support from the government.
There's not much support about the semiconductor from the Korean government, actually, but they're going very well because of their disciplined production and also the continuous the study about improving or not only improving is the next level of the semiconductors.
Korea was one of the first, the industry, Samsung particularly, was one of the first companies that started to use action learning seriously. When I was in New York, I was visited by people from Samsung that interviewed us about what we were doing. And that is beginning of the mid of the 1990s.
Yeah, I introduced the action learning to Korean companies around the middle of 1990s.
Right.
But Samsung was the last one I introduced. I think that I introduced around 2000. But they are very serious in the practicing the action learning in their executive development. That was very interesting. They learned the last, but they were the I think it's a discipline. It's because of the discipline they have.
They came up with a Costco, was it the name of the steel company?
Costco.
POSCO.
They did a lot of action learning, but they came up with a good idea, which was that the implementation problem was because when the teams were ready, come up with a solution, they all spread out back to their jobs, and the implementation was a problem. So they constructed particular people that were responsible to implement,
Yeah, the
which
POSCO
was
was
a new thing that we never saw before in action learning. It was very clever, actually. I don't know how it went, actually, but that's what they did.
well, yeah. POSCO was very serious in the practicing the action learning. At that time, the vice president was my friend, so he asked me to introduce to applying the action learning in the executive development. So I was running the first and the second run of the executive development with the action learning. It was very interesting, very, very interesting. Yeah.
I spoke to one of the facilitators there, and she said that the executives were afraid of the facilitators.
For good reason.
Maybe because the facilitators report may affect their performance.
Which is unethical, by the way.
Yeah, so when I was doing I was leading one team. I designed the whole program, and I was leading one group actually as a facilitator, and they were very, very obeying to my my recommendation. They think
I
my
hope you didn't fall
recommendation
for
is
it.
order. It's the postcode is like the founder of the POSCO was a military leader. So they had a very well disciplined rule in the organization, just like a military. That's why even the executives in their action learning program, they were well disciplined.
A militaristic action learning program is the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard.
Uh,
Okay, that's funny.
yeah. Okay. Other members.
It's an interesting reflection on action learning that Lars was referring to, that in my time in introducing many of those programs, the biggest risk becomes the lack of ability to put things into play that people have come up with. So the ideas, if thwarted by reality of get back to business, led to some people drifting away, losing faith when you don't really follow through with some of the bright ideas that come up. We persevered and we got there on some cases, but always a high risk that when you give people insights and ownership for new ideas, and an organization for good reason sometimes can't commit and want people to go back to their day jobs. It was always a difficult thing to do.
Right.
But
Big
always
problem.
worth it, Lars. Always worth the challenge.
Yeah. And all these programs, honestly, most of them ended up being incredibly powerful personal development programs.
Always. Yeah.
Always.
And personal development isn't just about a 3 or a 6 month experience. It's what it gives to a lifetime career for people.
Exactly.
That was always my philosophy in running them.
Right.
Whether we gained as an organization from that person or someone else gained, that's a different thing.
I think
Just
the
participated
action
in
learning,
making the world a better place. So
yeah,
Correct.
the action learning programs I was involved in were always centered on questions, yeah, asking questions. And I think developing your ability to ask questions and develop your critical thinking is a key aspect of personal development. But asking questions can also be very scary for the people at the top, because they were often used to not being questioned, and to thriving in a more or less stable environment. And then come these guys and start asking these stupid questions. Why are we doing this way? And things like that. And a lot of people felt uncomfortable with that. Yeah. I still use it a lot in the workshops that I run. I often introduce some aspects of asking questions as a way of influencing, as a way of coaching, as a way of learning, etc. And yeah, the people I have the workshops with, they love it, and they always ask me, "Are you going to do this with the senior management too?" Because they need this.
we insisted in the end, when we learned enough about it, that to just run an action learning program at the middle of the company and not involve the top in a parallel process. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged program, but we have to work with them to prepare them for what's happening and use the power of what's happening. And that was a challenge because they didn't want to have to ask questions to themselves like that.
Yeah.
One funny
Incredibly
thing.
challenging methodology, but very powerful when it works.
Very.
One funny thing, when I was conducting the action learning with Korean companies executives, I studied with SK Group. SK is very famous in Korea. The problem I faced in the beginning was those executives don't know how to use a computer at that time. It was the early 90s. And they don't know how to make a research. So they had to include some of the manager level staff to support the executives. But the
Sure.
same thing happened after 10 years. I was doing the executive action learning for executive development in the postco. They had the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to include one or two manager levels, younger managers, to support them for their research or record all their discussions.
Could have gotten
That's
some
the,
teenagers.
that was the Korean company's culture. So that's very funny for me.
I was thinking about your question about how is academia going to absorb AI into their curriculums, et cetera, et cetera. I thought it was interesting. I like to, before we leave each other, I like to hear a little bit from everybody how they see this. If you had the time to prepare for it,
Um,
Well, it will be a challenge again because academics are, in general, most of them are very conservative.
Mm.
So I think they always struggle with introducing new techniques. And especially I think the introduction of AI will demand dramatic change in superior education in universities, etc. Yeah, it will have to shift to developing critical thinking, but all the
Mhm.
knowledge, getting knowledge is no longer the most important thing. The most important thing is questioning whether that knowledge that you get through AI, for instance, does it make sense? Can it be applied in practice, as we were just saying? Yeah. And how to develop those abilities and how to measure whether people are learning or not, because
Right.
it's traditional teaching based on accumulating knowledge and being able to spit it out at a test or an exam. That's gone out the window. You have to really rethink superior education, and that will be indeed a challenge for traditional teachers and the methods of teaching. Yeah.
In Sweden, we have three universities, big are the biggest ones, that are introducing master's program in what they call machine learning,
Mhm.
uh, which is AI basically. And what they have, I just read up on this today, so it's fresh in my mind. They have appointed some ambassadors that are supervising between the different universities, and also supervising the fine line between cheating and innovation in academia,
Ah,
which is a very blurry line, as you all know. I mean, I myself, I have a friend who passed away some days ago, and I wrote a poem using AI to write the poem about him. And my friend who read it started to cry, and I became very guilty, that he was crying because something AI had made for me. So it's the boundaries here are interesting. I have experienced one myself.
yeah.
very good. Very
So
interesting.
I had an interesting experience last week at a workshop. I ran an exercise which I've done hundreds of times, which is a kind of a puzzle where you give you give bits of information to all the participants in the room. So it's an exercise for large groups. You can use it with up to 29 people in a room, and in this case, we were 18. So you distribute these pieces of paper, and then people just they have 40 minutes to find out who robbed the bank. It's a case, a bank was robbed, and everybody has bits of information. And the purpose of this is to get people to organize themselves. They have to find a way of organizing themselves, and they have to really listen to everybody because everybody has an important bit of information. Now, in this case, these 18 people were all engineers, and they started organizing things with using computers. They linked their computers to the main screen, and they started transcribing all the information on a main screen. So they were doing everything right, yeah. But in parallel, one of them decided to ask AI if AI could solve the issue. Yeah. And the fascinating thing is that AI came up with an answer, which was the wrong answer in
Really?
about 30 seconds. And the reason why, and I later debriefed the whole thing with them, and the reason why it was wrong is that one of the uh, characteristics of this puzzle is that one of the people in the one of the characters in the puzzle is lying. It's basically the guy who did it starts giving out false information so that people will go on a wild goose chase, or he puts red herrings out, and then you have to find out that yeah, this guy is actually lying. And why is he lying? Probably because he was the one who did it. And AI couldn't figure that out because it didn't have the logic of thinking that if things are contradictory, then one of them is not true. Well, one of them is basically a lie. So that was an interesting learning for me in terms of the limitations of AI. How does AI handle false information, or how does it identify people who are just lying? You know?
But it's very soothing to hear that it doesn't make assumptions about crooks.
Yeah. So
Nobody can be dishonest.
well, the lesson for me is indeed that reality is much more complex, and the AI is still in its infancy, trying to have that critical thinking. Is this person telling the truth? Yes or no? How do I find out? Etc. It's fantastic for text, yeah, but questioning itself is one of the challenges, yeah. And you have different AI models having different levels of competence in doing that. Some are better in questioning their own assumptions or prejudices, etc., while others are not good at that. Yeah.
Well, I think the university or college today should educate and train the students to use AI as much as possible. I think that's very important in today's job market. At the same time, I'm emphasizing the four C's of core competencies that's required for anybody in the AI age, because AI is one thing, but what the AI cannot do is the four C core competencies. One interesting thing is about 2 years ago, but there was February 2024. My friend was the university president, so he asked me to talk about AI in front of the professors, so several hundred of professors, before they start the new semester. So they have the meeting together with all the professors. So, and I was asked to make a speech. So I emphasized that this university need to determine that they are using the AI best in Korea. That's the way they can be competitive in the because today the student number of students are reducing because of the population reduction. So I emphasize that, and then I give some example of the who is the guy in uh, the Korean Japanese entrepreneur and who is leading the AI in Japan. He is a very good example of how to use the AI in the company. He's trying to be the number one company in utilizing the AI. Okay, so 손정의,
문제.
마사요시 손. Okay. The, so I gave the example and emphasized the importance of utilizing AI in everywhere, from the professors, students, and also the administrative steps in the university. But after 2 years, I don't see any much change. Now the next president, fortunately, was the one I know very well again. So I was invited to the inauguration ceremony, and I met him and said, "I have something to tell you." And I was going to talk about the AI again, but I didn't met him yet. After 3 months, I was still hesitating whether I should emphasize the same message or not. But maybe I need to repeat the message for the university. So maybe I'm going to meet him before I go to Chiang Mai. But that's I think important for the university to know how to utilize the AI in their teaching. So professors should know how to use that in their study and also in their teaching. And the students need to know utilizing the AI better than the other students. That's the competitiveness in today's job market. And at the same time, I'm emphasizing the four C's, which is critical, the competencies for the people in the AI age, what the AI cannot do, or how to better utilize the AI. So that's what I'm doing at this moment. But I'm losing some energy because to I want to also rest, take some rest, enjoying the photography and travel. So, but
Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I see is important the new education in the university.
but also, KR, in the information that you sent in advance, it says that to combat AI-generated degrees, elite universities have returned to mandatory oral examinations, so that they're conducting interviews live, as it were, and discussion live, as opposed to only relying on written information. That looks to be an interest. We talked before about various subjects. We've talked in this subject how things like a pendulum swing one way and the other. So maybe that will swing back towards an individual student needing to be sure of their information, able to articulate it, present it in a way that doesn't depend on AI at all. Except AI maybe in the research to reach a point where they need to be able to express their clear point of view.
Uh-huh.
That looks like an interesting example of how things may return to what we might describe as normal human factors in education.
Yeah, to your point, Paul, actually this year, I'm a member of my school alumni, so I mean, we study in the secondary schools and all that. So later on, when we left the school, we formed an alumni to continue to support some of the development programs, in the school, either hardware or soft skill. So each year we as a group, we contributed about 20 to 30,000 US dollars, not much. Yeah, back to the school. Population of the school is about 2,000 students, ranging from 12 years old to about 18 years old. So programs that we have been doing in the past were to prepare. So in the past, what I referred to was pre-COVID and also immediately after COVID. So preparing students to learn about robotics, learn about coding, inventing their own automated, cars and all that, entering international or regional competitions on robotics. But this year, we have decided to go back to the basic. So this year, we are investing the money in elocution and debating tests, preparing the
Very good.
students for these basic skills, because we find that, answers as what many of you have said, right? The knowledge, the informations and all that are plentiful. If they Google, they use AI and all that. So like Fernando was saying, how do they apply it? So we thought bringing back the extracurricular activity in the form of elocution contest and also debating contest is one way. So we're testing it out from this year. So hopefully, well, it will be a 3 years program. So we'll see
No,
how
that's
it
good
pans
luck.
out.
Yeah, no, that's good. Wish you well in that endeavor. That's very good.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Thanks.
Way to go.
Hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I've been seeing ads in the newspapers from universities saying like AI-based teaching. I don't know what that means, but because this is school result season and people will be applying for universities, so universities are sort of putting these ads out. Uh, but coming to the school side of it, Sal Khan, who you may have heard of Khan Academy, uh, they have a product called Khan Amigo. Khan Amigo started as a support for teachers and then also extended to students. So recently, Sal Khan said that basically for students, the adoption of Khan Amigo is very poor. And his belief is, in general, you need human based systems to move education forward. So this is Sal Khan, who has been around for a while in this space, Khan Academy, which basically started with maths and does many other subjects now, which is free. Anybody can use it, right? It's free all over the world. That's what he had to say on AI actually. But the funny thing is that a really high percentage of students use AI anyway, right? But somehow they're not using Khan Amigo for whatever reason. They use Chat GPT or whatever they feel like, and I don't know why. Because the main use, as some of the educators say, for kids is around asking questions where they're stuck. But why they don't use that type of thing, I don't know. But there is an opportunity to, have your own uh, sort of program sit on top of on top of an LLM, which guides kids through a question, right? If a kid asks a question which actually they don't want to give the answer to, the AI should ask back, not answer that question, ask another question in return to the child. So there are people who are working on platforms which will use the knowledge that AI has and not answer the questions that which the kids are supposed to think about themselves. So there are people who are thinking of building such platforms.
Yeah. You mentioned about the Khan Academy.
Yeah.
It's very famous.
Yeah.
It started very small, but once the Bill Gates support the Khan Academy, it became very big, and it provides the all the education program free of charge, and it used like the concept actually called micro learning. You know, the small piece. It's separated into small piece. Even one subject is just separated into small pieces of the topics. It's quite successful and it's very useful and it's all free. Yeah.
Kids don't use it.
Mm.
Teachers are not using it much. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Because if you ever seen it, it's really boring. It's like a teacher in front of a class, in front of in a board writing stuff down. So I mean, it's boring enough in a class. Can you imagine doing it online?
Well, that's the problem. The traditional method of teaching is felt very boring for the young students because they are very familiar with YouTube, the fascinating images, so that's an issue. That's a continuing issue in education. Yeah.
We have in Sweden, we say that the definition of a professor is somebody who is talking when the students are sleeping.
But Jukji, if I was just about to comment on the Khan, some of the poorer students in Malaysia who can't afford tuition, yeah, as you know, in Singapore and Malaysia, private tuition fee is very high for
Yeah.
those secondary school students. So those poorer students actually they benefited from that kind of the free tuition, even though it's boring, but at least they get something extra beyond what their teacher can teach them in the school. So some
No,
of
of
them
course.
actually have good comment
If
on that.
child is able to sit through it, it works really well. But
Yeah.
in India, at least, uh, the reason the tuition is happening is because the kids need adult supervision. Kids don't do stuff on their own. That's the issue. They're not into self learning or doing stuff by themselves. And many children are sending kids for these tuitions because they know for these 1 or 2 hours the kids gets taken care of after school, right? And it's off the parents' head, right? And I mean, at least in some cases where the mothers are also working, I mean, they feel safe that okay, the child is sort of here and in somebody else's supervision. So yeah, I mean, if a child goes through it, even these AI tutors that have been made, because they're supposed to personalize your learning. But the issue is children are not using it for whatever reason. I mean, that's what Sal Khan said about his own Khan Amigo very recently. And his CEO also had some comments to make on it. And he made it in the context that, the intervention that's needed to make an impact in education is human intervention.
I think people are overlooking how important it is to have an emotional connection. You need an emotional connection with the teacher and with your colleagues. And when you do that in a classroom, live, it's much better than doing it virtually. And good teachers are teachers that can have that connection somehow with the students. And the students really admire them and they are motivated, they want to learn from them, etc. But that comes from the actual personal interaction that you can have in a classroom. It's not the same when you do it online, and it's certainly not the same when the teacher is actually not a real person. If it's an AI generated character or something, it is not the same thing. So sure, you can learn from the images and the videos, etc. But after a while, kids get bored with that too. It is much more interesting for them to have a real emotional connection with a real person. And I think that needs to be valued again. Maybe it's the pendulum again, like Paul was saying. Yeah, we need to come back to real personal learning in terms of having a connection with a real person.
Yeah, and of course, when we think back to lockdown periods, that did lock us into individual learning as opposed to group. We weren't amongst people in the same way. So it's possibly just taking a while to recover to that degree of learning that is best amongst people as opposed to individually. I think we're all converted to that way of thinking, or not converted. That was our traditional way of thinking. But I agree. It's really important to have people together and discussing and debate and argument, as opposed to individual learning in front of an AI or a screen.
I also came across some research recently on attention span when you're looking at a screen, or a student is looking at a screen versus looking at a book, paper, right? And the research was firmly, on the side that attention span on screens is significantly less versus when a child has, a book and a paper in front of him or her.
Well, anyway, I agree that the emotional intelligence, the emotion is very important of human being. But so the teacher's role will be a bit changing in the future to emphasize more about the interaction among the students, and also help the emotional intelligence for the students. So one example is in Finland, they changed the education system to have a more the so-called problem-solving way. Actually, it's an action learning. So have a groups to solve a problem together, and through the teamwork, they interact with other students and know how to connect, and they work together very well with other. It's a socializing, but actually giving the issue, the problem, the real issues in the society or in the school. So that's the one of the model. In the future, the class will change, I think. So the knowledge transfer can be done by AI or by the teachers with the help of teachers, but the students work on the real life issues to resolve, and through the process they learn together. And actually, that's the action learning concept, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So they call it a PBL. It's a project-based learning or problem-based learning, but actually that's the concept, same concept of action learning. And they are heavily emphasized on the importance of that.
Where AI can really help in the education space is providing the ability to automatically check answer papers. So teachers don't have to actually check homework and stuff like that on a regular basis, and can save time. Theoretically, it's supposed to provide the path for personal learning, right? So that each child is or each student is can learn at their own pace. But that's the part, as I said earlier, unfortunately, the adoption seems to be low, at least in the school level. I don't know what is the adoption at the university or a college level, but in the school level, the adoption is certainly low amongst these AI tutors. But it can help the teachers on the correction side significantly.
I'm thinking, I worked many years ago in something called REPSI in South Africa, and it was about the HIV education in villages, through Africa actually. And the issue there, of course, was the instructor or the person who educated the villages. They had to connect emotionally with these people, otherwise it didn't work. But then people couldn't read, so it was all about pictures. What I'm thinking about now, how could AI be involved in finding out new ways of spreading education into societies where reading is poor and so forth and so on? I mean, what an interesting question to ask in a way.
I
How
think
would you design?
KR has sort of showed us how to use AI, right? That's the methodology, right?
Right.
Create polls, create videos, create images, link them all together, so gamified quizzes. So AI can really help you do all this much easier. Otherwise, it takes a lot of time and effort
Right.
to do all this stuff. I mean, you'll have an idea of what content you want out there, but AI can probably help you put it together. KR will, help you put together that project.
Yeah. You made a book, a fairy tale, with pictures and everything with AI. I mean, that's
Video, I remember he showed us a video also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Peter,
issue is when you,
I have a
sorry,
question to Peter.
yeah,
Can
go
I?
ahead. Go ahead, Lars.
Peter, do you understand the English, or do you want us to speak more slowly or something like that? How are you doing with that?
Yes, I enjoy hearing what you are speaking each other.
But the Peter's area of interest is very different from us. So maybe a bit difficult to participate in the educational topic.
But AI playing a role even with helicopters, I'm assuming.
Well,
The
Malaysia
issue
is
with
going to
AI
buy
is
a
when you,
airplane from Korea, South Korea, the fighter plane. Malaysia is going to be your customer.
Yeah, fighter aircraft FA-50, FA-50.
Yeah.
the issue with AI is when you have
Well, we
something that requires this controversial knowledge, or when there is more than one answer, or when you need something that is not already a consensus. Because what AI does, the current models, they take what is on the internet, and then whatever is predominant on the internet, they provide that as an answer. Yeah, and the danger is that for most things that works. But I had a few tests with AI asking questions about something that I knew more deeply. And the first responses that I got from Gemini, the Google model, were wrong. And then I went deeper into AI model when they say, okay, you can ask any question about this topic. So then I asked, well, isn't it true that this and this is the correct answer, contrary to what you have just said? And then the model said, oh, yes, you're right. I apologize.
Wow.
So the first thing is that the model always says that you are right. Yeah, or almost always. Yeah. And okay, it can apologize. But that means that if I did not know more about that topic, I would get the wrong answer, and that's it. And the models are not embarrassed to have to say, "Oh yeah, what I just told you is not true," but now, yes, what you have told me, that is true. So it is really weird. And I tried with some simple things. I asked, for instance, we were talking about the war. I asked, where are the aircraft carriers, the United States aircraft carriers at the moment? And the Gemini gave me a list saying, well, the Gerald Ford is at this moment, at the beginning of April, the Gerald Ford is on the Persian Gulf, going towards Iran. And then I asked, but isn't it true that the Gerald Ford has actually been damaged by Iranian drones or missiles, and is in Croatia for repairs. Oh, yes, that's correct. The Gerald, so why the wrong answer?
Mm.
And then when you put some pressure on AI, then it says, "Oh no, yeah, that's not right." So these different levels, that is worrying. Yeah, I asked about a movie. There's a Brazilian movie that has been going around called The Secret Agent, and I asked them, why is it that in that scene there is a reference to a French movie? And I got a long explanation. And then it basically referred that that scene was from a French movie called The Man from Rio. And then I knew that it wasn't. So I asked, well, isn't it true that that scene is actually from a different French movie called The Magnificent? And then the AI said, oh, yes, you're right. I apologize. That scene is from the other French movie called The Magnificent. So why the wrong answer first and the right answer only after insisting? Yeah, that's already two same issue. Yeah, so that is what I mean. That is worrying when you start using AI in education. It's fine when it let's say the standard that is kind of undisputed, but there are certain topics that AI can make mistakes. And of course, now you get a disclaimer at the bottom, right? You get a disclaimer at the bottom saying AI answers may contain mistakes.
Yeah, AI can still make a mistake, so definitely. So we should know uh, how to examine that, you know.
Well, that's my point. That is what universities need to teach. How
Yeah,
can you spot mistakes in AI and then teach critical thinking to the students?
yeah. That's why the teacher still need to correct the mistakes. Mhm.
Yeah.
But is
Today,
this to a large
can I
extent, is this likely to build up so that AI becomes aware of the number of Fernandos in the world testing and improves its outcome so that it is absolutely correct? Is it not just a matter of time?
Could be. It could be. But a third instance was again about a different, there's a Netflix mini series called um, The Radioactive Emergency. And it's about an accident that happened in Brazil where some people were contaminated by radioactive material, and four of them died, and many more were contaminated. Now, the thing is, this happened in 1987. So in 1987, I was 35 years old and living in Sao Paulo, so I was old enough to follow everything on the news. Yeah. But people who are nowadays uh, 35 years old were born after
Yeah.
87. And in 1987, there was no internet. So it made me realize that when people started discussing this series, they were all basing their discussions on whatever was on the internet. And I was basing my opinion and discussions on what I read in the papers in 1987 before the internet was invented. And if for some reason that knowledge is not captured on the internet, it's as if it did not exist.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff in the world that is not in the internet. Yeah.
Very,
So
very good point.
I also asked some questions and I said, isn't that true that one of the guys who survived uh, was drinking 2 beers a day and that actually helped him eliminate the uranium that he had in his body. And the first answer, again, I said, no, that's not true. You may have gotten that's perhaps a misconception from the Netflix documentary, but that's not in the documentary. And then I asked, and I know it's not in the documentary, but this was what actually happened. Uh, and then, oh, yes, you're right. And then it said, um, several sources say that indeed the guy had 2 beers a day, but there's no medical evidence that this actually helps him eliminate the uranium. That's just a theory. But this was not even mentioned in the first answer. And the reason it was not mentioned in the first answer is because this was basically not part of the internet environment. This did had I remember seeing this in 2 or 3 different newspapers at the time. And one of the reasons it's not in the series is because the producers thought this would encourage people to drink beer. And that was not the purpose. And the doctors were all saying, yeah, we shouldn't be telling people drink beer and you'll get rid of the radioactivity. That was not the message. Yeah. Plus, the guy who did this, drank beer, survived, he died 7 years later of cirrhosis of the liver because he was an alcoholic. So for all these reasons, this was not on the series and is not part of the internet world, but it is part of reality. So my point again is it's dangerous to think, okay, AI is providing these answers, but it is providing these answers based on what is in a box called the internet. And whatever is not in that box for some reason, of course, AI cannot know that if it's not in that box, right?
Mm.
Folks, just have a quick check. How is the quality of the audio at your end? Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Better than
when
usual.
so the audio that I'm receiving, I'm not sure whether it's relating to my computer or what. There's a lot of buzzing sound. So you don't get that, huh?
AI doesn't like
in the
what
past you had
Fernando
more
is saying.
echo.
Yeah.
AI is not liking what Fernando is saying, so it's
That's
diluting what
distorting it.
you're listening to.
It's distorting
Buzzing
it.
sound.
Exactly.
You used to have more echo in your transmission, but now it's better.
Oh, is that? I see.
Have you seen the news this week that Claude, which is one of these AI agents from
Yes.
Anthropic, finished the conversation because the user was throwing insults at Claude, and then Claude said, "This abuse is not acceptable. I am ending this conversation."
That's cool.
Just like real life. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just give another example. This morning, I noticed that this house I'm in now, the new house, with a solar panel, and I have a big battery of 20 kilowatts here next to me, is producing more than I can use, and it's exporting into the net, into the grid at very low prices. I mean,
Mhm.
pennies. I have 2 more houses, so I asked AI whether I should connect these houses with each other and use the excess, and it asked, Lars, could you give me a little more detail? And then it came out, absolutely, you need this. You need to dig down some lines, and it will cost approximately this. Do you want us to send you a form to send to the community? And I mean, and very nice, talking to me patiently and so forth, and building emotional connection with me. And now I'm meeting the electrician, and I think I know more about this than he does.
Very good.
So it's amazing. I mean, how is it possible?
Yes, yeah. But can you bargain with the AI the way that you bargain with the electrician
No.
for the price?
No. I don't know. Maybe I can say, is it possible to get it cheaper than this, and see what they say? But how they know how much it costs to dig in south of Sweden is beyond me.
Well, again, it can only be better if it's true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's how I'm thinking now. We'll see. Let's see what the electricians say, if it's true or not. Just an example. I think the biggest challenge for this is that what I read about before, that the line between cheating and innovation in academia or in any educational is a very blurry one. And how do we deal with that ethically? That, I think, is the big question.
Mm-hmm.
And or maybe what you said, Fernando, that oral examination is something that will, or Paul said, oral examination will come along here to take care of it. But how would one teacher be able to do oral examinations with hundreds of students? And you have to find new ways.
Maybe we need more teachers.
Yeah.
It takes a village to raise a child.
The traditional model of lessons in academia is one teacher and 200 students in a big auditorium. And maybe that's one thing that needs to change. You need to go back to small groups and more teachers.
Yeah. And teach students to quiz each other under some ethical constraints.
Yeah.
And
Action
use
learning
that.
sets.
Action learning, yeah, exactly. Hey, there we go. Great idea.
Well, Jukjev, I just got a news that the POSCO decided to build the steel mill in India with 50-50 investment with a company there. You know, the POSCO wanted to build a steel mill more than 20 years ago, but it didn't work. And they wanted to build in the eastern part of the India, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Their competitors didn't like the idea.
Mm.
So they had to go to plan B, which is join one of them.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Any other discussions?
I just want to ask, the steel industry, is that Tata in India?
Yes. Well, in the UK too.
Big in the UK.
Right.
So it's a Tata Steel?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I had a problem where my screen was frozen. And then I was disconnected and reconnected without me doing anything. It was the AI.
I think no, I think the it's not the AI didn't like you, but the internet connection was sometimes freezing. I saw that in your side.
Yeah.
Like it is now.
Still freezing.
Yeah.
You look better when you're frozen.
AI recognizes a troublemaker.
Yeah. I think we had a good discussion about the topic today. So anyway, I hope the war ends with peaceful talks between the Iran and U.S. I really want to end the war. I want to see the end of the war, so we don't have any more problems in the oil price and the oil supply and many things. Okay. I hope everything is coming back to normal in the next 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
We
I
all
hope
hope
so.
to.
By
Yeah.
next time. Yeah.
yeah, so that's for
Yeah.
today. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
It's
next
a good
time.
discussion. Thank you.
Next time I will be in the States, but you will hear from me.
Say
Oh,
regards to Donald. Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Bye
yeah.
bye.
All
So
right.
long.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Hmm.